Okay, well, welcome everybody, and everybody that's in the audience out there. Welcome to the Accelerate Festival. We really love having you here, and hopefully you've really enjoyed the exhibits that are all around us. We have a very special presentation and actually dance that's going to happen right now. And per the Accelerate Festival, this is a combination of science and art coming together, really talking about and showing you about the coastal estuaries of North Carolina. And this is brought very multidisciplinarily with Carol Birch Brown, who's a visual artist, but she also can program better than pretty much everybody I know. And somewhere there is Ann Kilkelly, a dancer, who's going to be putting this on as well, and the rest of the folks there. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to you guys to do your piece. Thank you. Welcome, everybody.
But the bigger question is, why are there two tides every day, but only one moon? Two tides, but only one moon. And the moon is one of the most important elements of why we have tides at all. The gravitational attraction of the moon on the Earth's surface pulling water, which is the softest material, towards it. Look at it like this. Here is the Earth, here is the moon. And the moon has this gravitational pull on the Earth. And the opposite is also happening. The Earth has a gravitational pull on the moon. And the Earth is rotating. And all of these things are happening at the same time. The gravitational attraction of the moon, pulling the Earth's water towards it, creates a tidal bulge. High tide. But there is another tidal bulge on the opposite side of the Earth. A little smaller, about 12 hours difference. I am the Earth. You are the moon. And we have this gravitational attraction. The waters on my surface are being pulled towards you. I am the Earth. I rotate. The tidal bulge stays in the same place. What about the second tidal bulge? Ah, the second tidal bulge. It has to do with motion. It has to do with the moon and motion. Centrifugal force balanced out by gravitational force. A pull in one direction, offset by a thrust in the other. And all of this can be measured by the fludol.
erosion from constant tidal currents.
Thanks. Yeah, you sometimes have to turn the microphone on. Yeah, so I'm Carol Birch Brown. This is Celeste Miller, Maya Gallo, Olivia Bowers, and Ann Kilkelly and Patrick Turner. Yeah, thank you. Let's see. So we'll just open it up for conversation. Questions you have or things you're curious about. Oh, yeah. Okay, the sound. Yeah, the sound is mixed from a combination of a lot of audio recordings that I mostly made, but a few other of our collaborators made in the Marsh. The Marsh is in Brunswick County, North Carolina. And a lot of the sounds that you heard are made from underwater recordings using hydrophones. And they're also made from focusing very high intensity microphones onto crab burrows so that you hear the little clicks and sounds that are being made by the crabs either in their burrows or the lots and lots of the clicking sounds are actually coming from oysters that are in the marsh itself. So we mixed all those natural sounds, also lots of bird sounds, wind, ocean sounds, worked a lot with Tom Judson, who wrote music for this piece as well. We incorporated all those natural sounds with this beautiful processed music that Tom Judson wrote in Max MSP. And then our bass player, Patrick, improvises in connection with that. And the vocal sound that you hear is from a singer named Elise Witt, who lives in Atlanta, Georgia, and goes to the beach with us all the time. So she knows this environment very well. And some of the sounds that you heard from her vocalizing were actually made in the kayak while we're floating down the stream. So, yes.
How was it actually filmed?
How was it filmed?
The process for that.
Okay, the filming was all done with very small cameras, not high-end, super expensive cameras, but like a little Canon Vixia camcorder. You know, nice little camera, but nothing fancy. And mostly they're done in a kayak. So I'm actually holding the camera out, trying to get as close as I can to the animals, and trying to hold as still as I can so that I don't disturb them. So a lot of times, like on the imagery of the crabs, for example, I might be sitting in one place for, you know, like a really long time, trying to be still enough that they start moving around again. And the underwater imagery was all taken with those same cameras, but with an underwater housing on them. So there's imagery from the underwater, what you see with the crabs and stuff like that underwater. Did you have a question?
Hello, my name is Bube Origi from New Jersey. Actually, Maya and Olivia, you two are gorgeous and you did a fantastic job. Yeah, give them another round of applause. I really enjoyed it. Yeah. The bass and the vocals, I really enjoyed the music as well. I just want to know, in regards to the locations of the footage, where did you actually use your footage on the kayak to get the footage? Because I really enjoyed the imagery.
Oh, thank you. So your question is, how did I get the footage from the kayak? Where was it from? Oh, yeah. This is all videoed in a marsh that is behind Sunset Beach, North Carolina, and Bird Island, which is a wildlife sanctuary that's right next to there. So literally going out in my kayak with my equipment and floating down, like all the imagery of grasses that you saw at the end, those were from free floats with the camera attached to the kayak. Like I've got a little GoPro camera, and sometimes I'll put that on the end of the kayak and just like float slowly and capture the footage. There's another really interesting dimension of this. My compatriot Thomas Tucker here, one of my favorite colleagues in the whole world in the School of Visual Arts, and he and, let's see, I saw Dong Su around here. Where's Dong Su? Yes, Dong Su Choi, David Mills, all from the School of Visual Arts at Virginia Tech. And we went down to this location, and they took a 3D laser scanner into this marsh, into this location, and did a 3D laser scan project of the entire area. So some of it's subtle, but some of it's almost like point cloud looking imagery. For those of you who know what that is, it's like lots and lots of little dots and stuff. That's all imagery that we picked up from 3D laser scanning that we brought into this, and it kind of creates, you can see that it's part of the environment, but it's hard to figure out, well, where is that? What is it doing? And it's actually lets you go back into the spaces that you would never be able to walk to on foot. So those very abstract looking point cloud stuff is actually from that 3D laser scanning. Yes. Yes.
I don't know much about the School of Visual Arts. How did this collaboration between the film and the dance come together? Was that always planned, or was that afterwards, or?
Really good question. The dance came about. Ann Kilkelly and I have worked together on many, many projects over the years. And when we go to the beach, this is like, you know, we're partners, and this is part of our life together. Is this environment? So when we started, the more stuff that I collected in terms of the imagery and the sound, it started to suggest, well, a dance. And Ann, do you want to say something? And then Celeste came into the project a little later.
I wanted to say a couple of things about how we built the dance. With all these images that Carol had collected, both visual and oral, we studied the pictures. In other words, the next iteration. We studied these images very carefully, and then we, in the initial part of the project, we did storytelling about our relationship to water, our relationship to mud, and we had determined that water, mud, crabs, birds, and grasses would be the 5 elephants. Yeah, that would be an idea. Anyway, the way we did the choreography was quite literally taken from the stories and made into images for each section. And all the dancers have their own patterns that they make. And so a lot of it looks like free improvisation, but it's sort of improvisatory, and some of it is quite established and clear. And I think the collaboration has been really incredible with Celeste, because Celeste is actually the choreographer that I understood, made me understand the power of words with gestures. So you've seen what her gesture work looks like, and that that was really important. So we put it together with another choreographer, Rachel Rug, who's not here. She is a principal dancer in this, and she's very sick. So we did this in a way that was almost so seamless that I couldn't say that, well, yeah, I'm the choreographer, or Celeste is, or Rachel, because we all really, really took each other and listened, and it was really an incredible thing to not know an awful lot about this marsh and what was underneath it. And there we were, seeing these creatures underwater and in the sky at close-up range, which is something humans almost never get to do. So I think of it as making the invisible visible to some ways, at least to humans. So I'm going to pass it on and give it to Elise. Or there's another question?
My question was similar. How much is planned, and how much is improv? And is it different every time?
How much is planned and how much is improv?
A lot starts with improv and then becomes something more set. For instance, the little jitter move coming on stage was an idea that we liked. And then the next thing I wanted to use Tai Chi in the piece, because Tai Chi is about water, is about water and swimming on dry land. It was one of the things that Tai Chi people say. And so that came into the initial circle, right? And gosh, I don't know how much was planned. Yes, we had ideas of things to try. We'd bring into rehearsals, a sequence like the fight sequence with the crabs, or the more or less uniform one. But I think that's a real blend too. It ends up being pretty much the same as we go, but it's never actually exactly the same. Like I improvised totally with Patrick on a dance that's a jazz dance. It's an old-fashioned thing called the tack Annie, and it looks kind of awkward and pugilistic, and that's why I picked it. So there's all that stuff. So I don't know if that satisfies your question, but it was very, and then it became more settled in, and we made new material with the one that Carol attached as a prelude and Celeste participation. So again, it's set exactly in terms of time, because of the soundtrack. So they merge. And that's the structure. Yeah.
Was wondering if maybe Celeste could describe something about her part of the movement.
Carol came to me and asked Anne if I would be involved. I'm a talking dancer, and they wanted text about the tide. So I took the tide and tried to figure out how to text dance it as my prelude.
Hey, first I'd like to make a comment that I absolutely loved your performance. It's a beautiful combination of the arts and science, which we need more of. My question would be, do you have any plans to work on any other ecosystems and branch out with other universities maybe and collaborate?
Actually, I'm talking with Carol right now. I currently live in Iowa in the prairie at Grinnell College, and we have a prairie studies department, and I'm hoping to get her there to be an artist in residence to create a prairie piece.
So that could happen. Some interesting connections between the prairie and the salt marsh in terms of ecosystem and also like the rivers that flow from the upper Midwest all the way down into the ocean, and they cross the salt marsh, and there's all kinds of interesting things that happen as a result of that. Any other questions? Yeah. Oh, so this piece is meant to be an installation it's an exhibition piece and for a gallery. So when it's shown in a gallery, it's in the round, and it uses a lot of scrims and projections, and you can walk through it. Audience can walk through it, or the people visiting the gallery can walk through it. And then there are performances at intervals. The first iteration of it was done at the Cube at Virginia Tech. Some of my wonderful Virginia Tech students are here. It's great. And then we did it, we kept working on it for about a year in some space at ICAT, which we were fortunate to have in a kind of developmental way. Then we did it at the Taubman Museum. It was there in Roanoke for about 3.5 months. And we did it at Piedmont Arts down in Martinsville with the Virginia Museum of Natural History and Piedmont Arts Center. It's also, we've had shorter showings of it, kind of like this, not exactly, in other places. Oh yeah, and we are looking for opportunities to show the piece. So if you think this would be of interest to institutions that you're involved with, by all means, contact us. Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate your being here and enjoying it.